Hey everyone, just wanted to do a quick introduction and a bit of an overview of Witchcraft, which is the library which allows you to do fun stuff with Minecraft in Clojure, and in particular with sort of use from a REPL in mind. Witchcraft is based on Glowstone, which is this really awesome open source re-implementation of the Minecraft server component. So a lot of the quote-unquote servers that you find out there, the different projects that call themselves Minecraft servers, they're typically modifications of the commercial, the proprietary Minecraft server, whereas this one is really like a complete from scratch implementation, which I think has a lot of fun implications and especially makes it much easier to deal with, installing it, running it. You can check the source, see what it's doing, which methods to call, and so forth. So Glowstone's been around for a while now. They're a small team, and so it's been a little quiet sometimes, but it seems the last couple of weeks they're really picking up the pace again. They're really trying to get some folks excited about the project again. They've revamped the site, and they're really making a push to get to 1.13 and further compatibility. So right now, Minecraft is, I think, at version 1.17. Glowstone still requires you to use version 1.12. The reason is that a lot of stuff changed in 1.13. The format over the wire, how certain block information, material information is encoded, much more data driven, which is actually interesting, but it did mean a lot of churn, a lot of change for them. Now sounds like they've been doing a lot of the hard work to make that work, and that they're actually hoping to kind of skip ahead once they get there to 1.16, 1.17. But for now, your probably safest bet is still to stick to 1.12. Yeah, we're gonna need a Clojure REPL. Yeah, I'm gonna got some stuff lying around here from my previous attempt at recording this video. But so I started a project here, and it's really just two files just to show you like how little you need. So this is the depseeden where you add the Witchcraft dependency. And then I have one file, this one here, where I'm going to show you what you can do with it. So if I'm going to assume, like, I'm not going to show you how to install and get started with Clojure. That's another can of worms. But if you are curious, you want to figure stuff out, I would recommend going with VS Code and Calva. So you'll want this kind of interactive REPL environment, interactive editor environment, like I'm going to show you. I'm using Emacs and Cider, which is great, but it is a steep learning curve. So maybe you're already using VS Code. It's not unlikely. There's really good integration for that too, and so that's what I would recommend. So I'm going to jack in a Clojure REPL, and then I'm going to start Minecraft. So you do also need Minecraft itself, which is a commercial game, so you'll have to buy it. And so when you come here into the Minecraft launcher, there's a tab for installations. You can say new installation, and then here pick 1.12.2, give that a name, install it, say create, and then it'll show up in the list here, and it'll also show up in the list here. And so you pick that one, 1.12.2, I called it Glowstone Compat, and then you say play. And so that's gonna first pop up this little guy, and then you have Minecraft. Now, you're gonna say multiplayer. Now it's not finding any servers yet, so I'm gonna here require Witchcraft. You really mainly need the first and maybe the second namespace, but I'll show a couple things of the other ones as well. And then yeah, you just say start a server. Optionally, it takes some options. In this case, I'm just saying that I want a flat world, so no mountains, rivers, just you know, flat grass as far as the eye can see. Just kind of nice for demo purposes. Some of this stuff is still a little wonky, so I recommend just leaving the config in the process directory where you are. So when I start this, see, it's like doing a bunch of stuff here, preparing the world, And then you'll see here where before I just had 2 files, now there's a bunch of stuff here. So there's a config directory with a bunch of YAML. At runtime pulled in some extra libraries, and then there's where your world data, where your world information gets stored. So now it's generated some worlds. So let's see what those worlds look like. It also tells you here that it's running on port 25565. So gonna add a server, call it Witchcraft, localhost, which is 127.0.0.1, and then that port number 25565. Done. So there's our server. Let's join it. And here we are, as predicted, grass as far as the eye can see, but we'll change that too. Now, I'm just gonna toggle to my Emacs and back, but when you do that, it's quite unlikely that your Minecraft is gonna pause and you don't see anymore what's happening. So for that, go to in Minecraft, go to F3, which is an interesting view anyway, because you can also see here the current block you're on, which might be interesting if you want to do stuff. So I might actually leave this on, and then when you press P, that should change whether it pauses or not, if I'm not mistaken. Is that right? Oh no, I guess it's at the same time. Keep F3 pressed and then P. So pause on lost focus, you want that to be disabled. So, okay. Back here, yeah, first some household announcements. The clock is ticking, it's gonna get night, might start raining. I sometimes find that super annoying that I'm like working on a little building or something and then it gets dark. So you can fast forward the clock. Also when it starts, storming, raining, you can just clear the weather again. Okay, so I'm going to start by grabbing a reference just to myself, the player that I am, by my player name. If it's just you and you're just playing around, you can, you don't even have to pass a name. It'll just give you the first one. And some functions still kind of do that implicitly. If you don't pass them a player, they'll just take the first one. Although I'm trying to get away from that a little bit in the API because I want people to encourage people to use this for a server that they might be on with their friends, and where you can actually still have like sort of fun interactive behavior. So yeah, you can query various things about the world, about yourself, where you are, get the reference to the server, etc. That's all not so interesting. We can start moving ourselves around. That's already something. Can also change the pitch and the yaw, which is like whether you're looking up or down and which direction you're turned. You can see here some interesting things already. So here when I say location, I get a location back, but the location function gives you a location back for various different things. So if you pass it a location, it'll just give you a location back too. But for instance, you could also pass it a Clojure map, and it'll also give you a location. You could even pass it a Clojure vector, and that's something I just added. I guess that's not working yet. No, I think, oh yeah, I didn't implement it for location yet. I didn't implement it for this one, yeah. But yeah, so the idea is that like in general, so that also means that a lot of API calls which take a location, you can also pass a map. And so it sort of tries to, have these things be kind of convenient without having to do too much interop and converting stuff back and forth. Same with this add function, which is sort of a vector addition, but so you can pass it locations, you can pass it vectors, etc. Okay, so let's put a block of wood, one block in front of where I am. So is there? Yeah, here we are. Okay, that in front of still behaves a little weird sometimes because of rounding. But for instance, we can go, okay, say, especially if we look a little up like this, that's fun. you can say, let's make a box of 3 by 3 by 3 jack-o'-lanterns. All right, and here we have some jack-o'-lanterns. So that's kind of already a drawing primitive, and you know, like you can do fun stuff with that, because you could also like now start carving out of that, for instance, by maybe making some of this air again. Might need to get the distance right. You get the idea. Let's maybe spawn a villager. What to spawn takes a location. Oh, it yeah, that is a bug that I need to fix. This should be like this, the default world on the server. So there's a very villager. Yeah, some things in Glowstone have kind of wonky gravity handling. They fixed it, I think, for chickens, actually. But I noticed it also for pigs, that they still kind of float in the air. So chickens fall, but yeah, no, it's also still kind of floating, right? And then the same for pigs. Yeah, so that's okay. So I think the pig is in the floor, in the ground somewhere now, and dying. But there's another pig. Okay, so that's kind of stuff you can do. There's this entities map where you can sort of see all the different things. Let's maybe spawn an ocelot. I don't even know what an ocelot looks like in Minecraft. There's your ocelot. Nice. Is that hostile? Is that gonna kill us? Alright. Not too hostile. Okay, for what remains, let's just teleport basically to 0, 0. So now we're kind of at the center of the world, which kind of makes it easier to deal with numbers. So yeah, that box function, you can also basically do that yourself just with the set block. So that's kind of the primitive for setting an individual block. So here's a little glass house now. Let's maybe give myself, where's my, yeah. Let's add an iron pickaxe so that we have something to chop with. Just kind of to show you what we have. Yeah, because the glass, it's kind of hard to tell like what shape it has, but unless you kind of make a tunnel in it like this. Okay, what else could we do with this? Well, let's say something very similar, right? So like basically before kind of had something like this, so now I have like just a big chunk of wood. But now, instead of just making all of it wood, I'm going to say, okay, if it's y, so y is the height. It's kind of funny in Minecraft that like y is the height and x and z is the you know, what I would expect to be x and y, but okay, fair enough. So the top one, we make wood, and then the rest, if it's sort of like internal, if it's between 0 and 9, we'll make it air, whereas basically 0 and 9 themselves will make stone. So now we have something like this, and if we chop a little door in there, we got a start of a little house. Here, and it's already getting dark, so gonna fast forward to the morning. Yeah, then quick example of event handler. So there's a listen function, where you can say, I want to listen for this event. You give it a name like a key. This is similar to add watch in Clojure Core. If you give the same key again, it's going to replace the previous handler, or you can use the key to unlisten, so that it's kind of nice from a REPL. You can like keep reevaluating this, and it always updates what's already there. So now whenever we interact with the block, we get a message saying good job. But so yeah, let's not do that because it's going to get a little noisy. And so there's a lot of different events that you can listen to, and so this way, you know, you can really completely modify how the game works, and yeah, kind of make your own thing. Okay, let's so here I'm just on a wide range from -100 to 200, and from 3, which is the level of the grass, up to 20 high. I'm just going to make everything air except level 3. I'm going to make grass, so that we have a more or less clean slate again, except that all our mobs are still there. So with set block, and you know, like you can sort of make your own structures that way, but there's an alternative API in this cursor namespace, which is kind of like if you've used logo, like this turtle kind of stuff before, like that's kind of what it is. So you need a starting point, and so there's a function that gives you that by default based on your current location and facing forward. In this case, we're at 447 and facing southwest, and drawing is on, and we haven't drawn any blocks yet. Now southwest is a diagonal. I'm gonna put myself in a straight line. I think that's gonna be a bit more convenient to work with. Okay, so now we're facing west, and so the default material is lapis, and so when you say starting position, starting point, and you say, for instance, you know, 5 steps forward, what you get, well, let's start with 2. What you get is that this block set now contains these some blocks, but so far everything's just in memory. So this is just persistent data structures. This is just functional Clojure stuff. Each step just gives you a new version of this cursor. Also, so yeah, we started at 446, I think. Is that right? Right, we started at 446. And so each step does a step and then adds the block at the point where you ended up after taking the step. That's can be important to know that it steps first and then puts the block. And then you can use the build function, pass this cursor to this build function to actually build the stuff. Now what's also fun is that if you use this cursor API, that there's an undo function. And I have actually, so if you're using Corgi, my Emacs distribution, then you can say copy to register, and I'm going to copy this to the U register, and then with here, let me build this couple lapis blocks with comma U, I can undo that. So that's really nice for sort of interactively doing stuff. I'm going to define a little helper here, which basically we give it a cursor. It's going to put a block where the cursor is right now. Actually, let's make this always lapis. Just so it's going to put a blue block where the cursor is, then move 1 step forward with a red block, build those, and then a second and a half later they disappear again. Why do I do this? So that I can know where I am with my cursor. So for instance, well, yeah, it'll come in handy later. So when you're like sort of halfway through a structure, you know, you've been navigating all around, you can see where you are and which direction your cursor is pointing, which is kind of interesting sometimes. So, okay, let's build a little house. It's not going to be the most interesting house. It's going to be very, very straight and geometrical, which Minecraft people don't always like, but it's a starting point. You know, you can really go crazy with this. So I'm going to start again from my, actually, let's get a new starting position because we've been moving around so that it's kind of right where we are. And then going to move one step down so that we're in the ground, change the material to gravel, move 8 steps forward. So that looks like this. And then I'm going to extrude that 11 blocks to the right. So basically that means that for every block that's already in my set of blocks, it's going to copy them 11 times over in that direction. And so there is our ground floor. And so now I'm gonna start doing the actual the turtley stuff where you say, okay, go 8 steps forward, rotate 2. 2 means 2 1/8 rotations. So because it goes right like north, northeast, east, and so forth. So if you go 8, you make a 360-degree turn. If you go 4, you make a 180 turn. If you do 2, you make a 90-degree turn. So I'm going to do 8 steps, rotate 2, and do 11 steps. And so that's what that looks like. Let me give us a good view. Let's maybe turn on flying so that we can, there, should give us a bit of a view. And let's all right, so yeah, I'm going 8 across, 8 forward, 2 rotating, 11 across, 2 rotating, 7 back, 2 rotating, 5, and then move is like steps, but doesn't draw anything. It just moves the cursor forward. I could also, you can also actually say draw false, and then just take steps and turn drawing on later on again. But move just does that. And then I'm going to extrude the whole thing to up, so then we get this. Okay, for the roof, it gets a little more interesting. So, okay, let's maybe pick this apart. How much? That's 6. So start here. Okay, so I'm going, like, I'm still at the same starting point, which is that lower left corner. I'm going to start by just moving 3 up and then moving 1 forward. Because if I just move 3 up, what happens is, let's say that I put a block here, right? That's going to be in front of our house because step first goes forward and then puts the block. And so our actual cursor is actually our actual starting point is actually 1 block in front of the house on the left corner. So that's what that move 1 is for. Gonna switch it to stairs, put a block down, and see what happens. Now those stairs are pointing this the wrong way, and here you need to start experimenting a little bit. There's a second argument here for the block data, and in this case block data 1 does the trick, turns it in the right direction. And then I'm gonna, yeah, so here I'm using move and block, which is sort of together combined, do the same thing as step, but I guess I'm kind of pulling them apart. Guess I could actually move 1 right and then block, I guess, is actually the same as step right. yeah, that should actually work. Yeah. And so I kind of want that pattern where it's sort of these two stairs, but then repeat that over and over. And so that's why here I basically pulled some of this in a function where each time we put one stair down, go one to the right, put the other stair down, go one up. And then I'm using iterate to repeat that. I'm taking the 5th iteration of that. So that's what that looks like. And then I'm extruding the whole thing to the end of the house. And then it's basically the same thing. Here I just had to tweak the numbers a little bit for the material data. Same thing on the other side. And again, you know, it's not going to win prizes, but it is a lot of fun to play around with. And then to top it off, I'm just going to give myself 2 doors and put those in here. Oh yeah, they're not exactly how I wanted them, but that's fine. Let's maybe, instead of skipping through time, give myself a bunch of torches so that we can light this place up. Here, feels like home. Yeah, so with that, I've actually shown you a lot already of what Witchcraft can do. It's a bit of a, there's quite a bit of API already for sort of the various things that I've been trying to do. So you know, there's trying to get the CLJ docs going. Don't know if they're already, oh yeah, okay, they managed to pull everything in. So there's API documentation here. You can get the items that you have in your hand or get your inventory, find the highest block at a certain point, just kind of various things that you can try combining to do interesting things. And then finally, I'll show one more thing, which is creating new worlds from scratch. And you know, this normally you would sort of create these generator classes and so forth, but like, okay, you know, like what if I try to make this very simple? And so basically this create world function takes 3 arguments, the name of the world, a function which gets the coordinates and returns the material at those coordinates, and then you need to give it a spawn location where a new player is going to spawn. So here it's very similar to this super flat world that I started with, but now we're gonna say, let's say that everything below 10 is stone, and then we need to spawn at least at level 11 or maybe 12, then we have a little drop when we start. So preparing spawn, sometimes you get a little bit of a progress bar now. And now, but it seems like it's actually done. Does that mean that I can teleport there? So let's try to teleport me to world stone flats. Do I need world? Ah, here we are. Here we are in our new world. And of course, you know, it's up to you what you do with that. Here I basically said everything above 20 is what? Is air. Anything that is less than 30 blocks away from 0, 0, from the center of the world, is dirt, or the top layer it's grass, and then everything else is water. So basically I'm going to have a world, let's make this a little smaller so it's easier to see. I'm just going to have a round island in a big water world. Ooh, and it doesn't like that. Oh, okay. better. Yeah, I'm not sure with all those exceptions is if everything still is ticking. No, our water world is a little funny. Okay, but you get the idea. I'll end there. Thanks for watching.